уважаемый.
Yeah. Thank you very much, also particularly for receiving the African leaders who came to St. Petersburg to meet with you as part of the African Peace Mission. We want to thank you for listening to us, but we also thank you for explaining to us the situation that you are involved in.
И благодарю вас большое, господин президент, за то, что вы приняли нас, приняли миссию африканских лидеров здесь, в Санкт-Петербурге. И для нас действительно это важно. Для нас было важно услышать вас, и мы действительно смогли получить все подробные объяснения и понять ситуацию.
We covered a number of issues that are related to this crisis, and we have agreed to continue with the discussions.
Мы осветили целый ряд вопросов, связанных с кризисом, и договорились продолжить обсуждение.
And we'll also take the discussions forward when we come to the Africa-Russia summit in July, so we thank you for that.
В том числе мы можем продолжить обсуждение в ходе саммита Россия и Африка в июле, и мы благодарим вас за это.
We are also here to discuss the bilateral relations between Russia and South Africa, and we will be able to cover a number of issues, including the BRICS summit and a number of other issues that have to do with our cooperation.
Мы также сможем обсудить двустороннее сотрудничество России и ЮАР, а также ряд вопросов, связанных с БРИКС и иными международными организациями.
Thank you very much for being open to talk to us in the way that you did. Thank you.
Благодарю вас за открытость к разговору с нами. Спасибо.
В Россию с этой благородной миссией, которой мы присоединились сегодня несколько часов.
Mr. President, first of all, I would like to thank you for coming to Russia on this noble mission that you have spent your time and several hours of it on.
Мне кажется, что мы и формальные части, и неформальные практически в деталях обсудили очень многие основные, во всяком случае, аспекты проблемы, связанные с кризисом, ради разрешения которого необходимо в России.
I think that during our formal and informal talks we have managed to discuss the major details of the serious crisis that you have come to help us resolve here.
И как договаривались, у нас есть возможность еще несколько слов сказать по нашим двусторонним отношениям, взаимодействию в рамках международных организаций, в том числе BRICS.
We'll talk about our bilateral cooperation and cooperation in international organizations, including BRICS.
Спасибо большое.
Thank you very much.
Well, I think our mission was impactful. Its real success obviously will be measured on the ultimate objective of stopping the war. But the impact that it has had is that, one, we were listened to as we gave an African perspective on the war that's having a negative consequences for our continent. And secondly, we probably the only group that has engaged the two leaders within a short space of time to put forward a very strong proposal and view that the war must end. But we also accompanied that broad proposal with a number of elements which have to do with the recognition of the sovereignty of countries in terms of the UN Charter. That we put forward unambiguously, and we spoke about the de-escalation of the conflict, that this conflict is causing a great deal of harm. Said, without mincing our words, that there must be de-escalation. We also added that the humanitarian assistance must get to the people who are suffering in the war. And part of that must be about the release of prisoners of war, as well as the release of the children who were taken out of Ukraine and to be returned back. Now, those are some of the key issues, but we also spoke about the release and the opening up of the Black Sea for movement of grains and fertilizers to the world markets. which is where we are impacted quite negatively. But I think the most important outcome of these discussions was, one, the willingness to talk initially to us, and the other one is the willingness to go through the various issues that we raised, and the commitment that we will engage further. And as it is now, the continent, Africa, is going to have a summit with Russia, which is the second summit, the first one having been held a few years ago. And we will continue our discussions with President Putin then. And in the intervening period, we'll also be talking to President Zelensky, because we also want to know his response to a number of the other issues we raised. So overall, much as this was not going to end the war, it is one of those engagements, and many other people and parties are having engagements with Russia and Ukraine on the war. We're the first one to see them almost jointly, but one after the other. So their agreement that they are willing to engage with African leaders on this is a huge achievement for us, because now Africa is in the frame. Africa will be participating, and we're participating positively without trying to diminish the other efforts that are underway. And we will also be talking to the UN Secretary General and informing him about these talks, including many other world leaders. That's what I will be doing as well.
First and foremost, it's good to be home, and good morning to all of you. We are very grateful for your support. I must say that from the beginning, throughout we left Zambia, you have been very supportive at home. We were watching what was going on when we had time. We took a peace mission to Ukraine, to Russia, on the premise that, as you know, we've said before, war is not good for anyone. It doesn't matter who they are. War is not good for anyone. We know the consequences of war: loss of lives. We know the consequences of war: dislocation, migration, poverty, and just women delivering in very difficult circumstances. So that's why we've maintained our view that instability anywhere, conflict anywhere, is instability everywhere. You all know the effects of that war on all of us across the world. So we took a peace mission to seek peace, negotiations, so we can restore order in those countries, and the consequences or consequential actions, positive actions. That was our mission. We're very grateful that President Zelensky and the people of Ukraine received us very well under difficult circumstances. I'm sure you know we had to travel by train in there, 11 hours, out there, 11 hours, overnighting in both cases. But the people received us very well, took us to the various locations, including Bucha. We saw with our eyes. We went into meetings, had honest meetings, open, honest meetings. Proceeded to Russia. I want to thank President Putin and the Russian people, Russian Federation, for receiving us well. And also we had very honest meetings, straight, clear to the issues. And so we want to thank the two countries for accepting for the first time in the history of the world, if I'm not mistaken, to have a team of 7 presidents from the African continent to take a mission like this one. Never happened before. Yes, we've had missions within our liberation struggles, missions in Great Lakes region, everywhere, but this is the first time that African presidents of this continent is recognized that it could contribute, please take note of my word, to contribute to building peace, to restoring peace, law and order, security, stability in Europe. And we're grateful to those two countries. As I said, we're grateful the African people for allowing us to take a mission. Some people wouldn't take a mission like this, but we took it for what it is, for humanity, good of humanity. Thank you.
Right. The two nations
Yeah.
independent of their influence. Do you think it's making an impact in this crisis? And also, maybe moving forward, the President is the team that wants to deal with Russia and Ukraine.
Yes.
Are there any plans to also visit African countries there with their partners in the crisis? That would think Sudan,
Yeah.
DRC, Mozambique.
Two things about this. The present. The first thing is you are asking or talking about that each of the countries is maintaining their position. And we'll come to the African peace issues. Yes. Anyone who understands resolving conflicts, transactions, could be business, could be national, could be international, knows that every one of the warring parties go into a meeting room for discussion with their positions. That's normal. That's the way it is. In a business, they have different positions. That's what we have. So the important thing is that, as I said, we're honest conversations and acknowledging that there's no war that doesn't come to an end. There's none. It doesn't matter who's more powerful. It doesn't matter who's bigger. Every war has come to an end. We know this going on. Second World War, we wait that even when fighting was going on, people were negotiating to end how to end the war. It's very important. What you do, these are some of the things that we got to do. And I'm grateful that despite those specific and clear positions on each of the countries, number one thing, as I said, that they were willing to accommodate the African embassies representing Africa and the global community. Mind you, we didn't go there to demean the efforts of the Chinese, to demean the efforts of the Turkish people, to demean the efforts of anyone else, but to add on. Remember, not my words. So they accepted that principle that they need first to save a delegation from us. Number two, to discuss the issues around the conflict, motivation of the conflict. Number three, very important, to engage in dialogue, further dialogue. So this is the first thing from the African point of view. But from the global community, there are other things. But remember, we are going to go holistic. It means what we should acknowledge the challenges that the other efforts. I won't go into this. I'm sure you followed what was being discussed. Why the other efforts do not end with a peace position. So we pull all of these issues in on the beginning. So work with others, work together towards one thing, achieving results. Your position is this way. But that's how it is. In the home, you quarrel with your husband. Then you ask others to help you resolve the quarrel. The first conversation is that, Father, what's the problem? Say your problem. How you see them? Sir, what's the problem? You say those problems, and then people hear you out, and then they begin now to go things together. So very important. I think the important thing is to see the effort, the willingness to engage. Great. Too many lives have been lost. As I said, conflict is everything. We just don't need it. We don't need it. What we need is peace, security, stability. For what? For economic, social development. Everywhere, not just here. Second, conflicts on the continent. We, as we stand here, and SADC, ECOWAS, East African Community, just to mention a few individual countries, blocks of countries, regions, and the AU itself are engaged actively in conflicts, resolving conflicts on our front. Charity begins at home, isn't it? I hope you are aware that your own men and women, brothers and sisters, are in Cabo Delgado as we stand, including equipment, with Zambian assets deployed in northern Mozambique called Cabo Delgado, seeking peace. I hope you know, media, please, that your own brothers and sisters are in harm's way in Central African Republic. And I'm sure you are aware that now we have our commander of the UN forces in the Central African Republic, General Nyoni. What are we doing here? Seeking peace in Central African Republic. I hope you know that as SADC were involved in Eastern Congo, East African community. I hope you know that the Mali situation, the Chad situation, and now Sudan. Just to mention a few examples. On the table. Other groups are doing different things. But you understand that peace, security. And I'm sure now you understand why, as your servants have been talking about the importance of national unity here. No matter what our issues are, national unity, peace, security, stability of Zambia is important for our economic development. We shouldn't export instability. If we have instability in Zambia, we are affecting everyone else around us and beyond. As we have seen on that conflict, imported inflation, cost of fertilizer, cost of food. But we say the point there that I would like the media to make. We didn't go there to ask for food. No. This mission was very clear. We are not there for gifts. We are not there for any philanthropic issues. We are there to restore peace. Very grateful. I hope I've answered it.
Mr. President, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Allow your colleagues to just to be fair to each other. Yeah.
Welcome back, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir.
My question is, what was the sticking point in discussion between the Ukrainian and the Russian president with the African Peace Initiative? And how soon are these likely to be resolved? And what were the next steps and timelines to this initiative or intervention?
There's the timelines. We are already behind schedule. We shouldn't have any more people dying. We shouldn't have any more bombs or missiles dropping anywhere. We are already behind schedule. We should first, this conflict should have never escalated to where it is now, but it did. So there's really nothing to talk about time frame. We are behind schedule. The world is behind schedule. So we should work. We are working from behind. And that's why we went into those circumstances. As I said, many people would have never really gone in those circumstances. But when peace is calling, we go. In our country, in our region, elsewhere. So you should. Next, the issue of sticking issues. That's context now. That's detail now. We leave that to the processes that are necessary, that have been put in place, checklist of things, and continuing engagement. As I stand now, as I reach home, there may be a call. That issue now requires your opinion, your views, what should be. So it's continuous. Ministers will continue meeting, foreign affairs, eventually. We don't know who else, but there's a problem. Africa is organized, getting organized. Africa has been behind for too long. That's been wrong. But we're members of the League of Nations, decent League of Nations. So we must perform the function. The rest, I think it's unfair for me to answer.
Thank you, Mr. President.